Allie's is okay, but mine isn't. All right. Joey, I think we're ready. Yep.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let's go. Turn on that mic to make sure they pick me up, I guess. Good evening. We'd like to welcome you out to our public hearing here in Monticello. We're delighted to be with you. I'm Rex Facer, the chair of the Independent Redistricting Commission. I'm delighted to be joined today by Commissioners Rob Bishop, Commissioner Bill Thorne, Commissioner Lyle Hilliard, Commissioner Karen Hale, and Commissioner Jeff Baker. Unfortunately, Commissioner Christine Durham is not able to join us tonight. But we have a number of issues that we'd like to take care of kind of as a matter of our normal public meetings. The first of those is a review of our minutes from our August 10th meeting. Did anybody have any changes, comments, or anything else to the minutes?
I didn't see anything. I move we approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Just as a point of order, if Commissioner Durham is listening in on, can she vote? Can we have?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yes,
don't know whether she's listening.
and we don't have her online right now. So
Okay.
if she is able to join us, they're going to let me know to make sure we
Okay.
get her participation as well. So we wanted to start by talking a little bit about the redistricting process and the role that we play as a commission. As you know, back in 2018, the voters passed Proposition 4 and created the Independent Redistricting Commission. After some legislative negotiations in 2020, the commission was created, and we were all appointed in February of 2021. And we have been meeting since early spring to understand our charge. And our charge essentially is to create a set of maps for the congressional seats, the state Senate, and the state House, as well as the state school board. And we'll present a set of 12 maps, 3 of each of those types of maps. And in order to do that, one of the most critical pieces for us is to get engagement with the public and to understand how you view your communities and how we can make sure that the maps that we have represent the interests that you have. Now, we have in the law a set of criteria that we have to pay attention to. They include things like being contiguous, that parts of the districts have to touch. So we can't have one district over here in, say, Delta, and then have another part of that district without anything in between in, say, Moab. If we're going to have a district that contains Moab and Delta, which I'm not advocating, they would have to have the landmass in between the two communities. But instead of us just guessing what makes sense, we want to have some feel from all of you as well. One of the other criteria that we have is compactness. Now, one of the challenges that we have is each of our districts has to be of essentially equal population. So for the congressional districts, that means we have to have about 817,904 people in each one of the congressional districts. So it doesn't matter the geography, it matters the number of people in each of those districts. And so the mapping tool that some of you looked at, it has data down to the block level, so which is the smallest census unit, to help us identify where people live, and we can then group those together to create a district that achieves that ideal boundary or that ideal population size. For the state Senate, it has to be about 112,000 people. For the state House, it's just over 43,000 people. And for the state school board, it's 218,000 people. So you can see that one of the challenges that we're faced with, especially when we're in rural Utah, is getting, say 112,000 people together requires that we span a fairly large geography. Now, if we're going to do that, we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that makes sense. And the key is that per the Supreme Court and other federal laws as well as state laws, again, we have to have these districts be of equal size. Now, we've also of equal population. So yeah, when I say equal size, equal population, thank you, Commissioner Thorne. We've also been tasked with trying to keep geographic boundaries together, or pay attention to geographic boundaries. So, for example, if we can, to follow the borders of a river or a mountain range. But again, there are going to be times where that may or may not make sense. And again, that's one of the things that we want your input from. Would it make more sense for us to go across the Colorado River, or would it make more sense for us to stay on this side of the Colorado River when we're drawing boundaries? We've been asked to look at the cores of prior districts. So we want to pay attention to where the prior districts were. But one of the challenges with that is over the last 10 years, the population across Utah has shifted significantly. Now, largely that has happened in the urban areas along the Wasatch Front and down in Washington County with St. George. But that then has implications for the rest of the state. And so if, for example, southern Salt Lake County and northern Utah County are growing really rapidly, but down in San Juan County, the growth is relatively slow, then that means that the population ends up shifting away a little bit from one area towards another. And so even though we're looking at prior districts, we can't match those because when we overlay the prior districts, the populations are not equal any longer, even though when they started out 10 years ago, they were equal to about one person on the congressional level. We've also been asked to look at the boundaries for municipalities and counties and to try and keep those whole where possible. And again, I know this is an issue that is of concern to some down here in southeastern Utah, that you want to make sure that your communities aren't split. And we want to hear that to make sure that we're hearing you correctly. And then where possible, this one's really hard, is to have boundary agreements across districts. Unfortunately, we have, well, I don't want to say unfortunate, we have 75 House districts and 29 Senate districts. The unfortunate is that 29 doesn't go into 75 evenly. And so we can't just easily take the Senate districts and map them equally with the House districts. And so that's just going to take a little bit, even though we're going to try and have boundary agreement, that may not happen precisely. The last thing that the commission is charged with is not favoring or disfavoring either political parties or candidates or incumbents. And so one of the things that we have chosen to not do is to not look at political data, so that we look at all of these other things, but we're not looking explicitly at political data so that we aren't favoring or disfavoring any political party or any candidate. And so we've now started mapping. We started a couple of weeks ago. We were waiting for the data to come from the Census Bureau. Normally that data comes in around April. It came in on, I believe, the 12th of August this year. And then after a couple more weeks, we had the data uploaded and running. And the software that you see here is the live software that you can use to draw districts. And so in addition to us drawing districts, one of the things that we invite you to do is for you to draw districts as well. And so you can do that on our website, uirc.utah.gov. And you can either draw a map that has the whole state with all of the 4 congressional districts, all 15 of the state school districts, 29 of the state Senate districts, 75 of the state House districts, or another alternative, because we know that drawing the state House districts, for example, takes a considerable amount of time. And so another alternative, if you want to give us useful information, but not spend, say, 2 days drawing state house maps, you can give us your communities of interest. And so we have another mapping tool online that allows you more quickly to identify those areas that you think ought to stay together in this process. And so if you were in this part of the country and you said, we want to make sure that Blanding and Monticello stay together, then you could draw that on the map. But we'll also have one of our staff will talk a little bit about the handout that you have available for drawing the maps quickly tonight and giving us feedback as well. Is there anything else that I've missed kind of process-wise from the perspective of the commission?
Maybe just a timeline.
Oh, sure, thank you. The timeline, so we are taking public comment through about October 22nd, but we have to turn in our final set of maps to the legislature. Now, this is actually a really important point, is we're going to have a set of maps that we turn over to the legislature, but the legislature will have the ultimate decision on which maps to accept, if any. Now, what we hope is that by coming and engaging with all of you, we can take your input, and those maps can then carry the weight of the people of Utah as we share those with the legislature. So it's not just the maps of the commission, but we really want them to be the people's maps as we try and help you be represented in the most fair way that we can draw. But yes, ultimately it's the legislature that decides. And so we'll hand over our maps to the legislature on the 1st of November. And the legislature will then, over the next several weeks after that, they will decide which of the maps that they will use, whether they're maps that they've drawn, whether they're maps that the public has drawn, or whether they're maps that the Independent Redistricting Commission has drawn. And so one of the things that we would hope is that in addition to giving us feedback, that you also share your voice with the state legislative redistricting committee as well. And so they'll make their decision they hope to have it done before Thanksgiving so that they can enjoy their Thanksgiving holidays.
But they have to have it done before the 1st of January, because that's when candidates start collecting signatures to run for office. So that's the drop dead.
Yeah.
We got to have done by then.
And so in order, working back from that, we've got to have our maps done by the 1st of November so they can have a few weeks to decide. And then if they take a few extra weeks, they've got to have it done before the new year. And so that gives you a broad sense of the process. But a couple of other things that we want you to be aware of. We have split up into mapping teams so that we're getting together in small groups to draw our maps. And one of the things we're doing is we're broadcasting that over YouTube. So people can watch us make decisions about where those lines ought to go. And we have our staff that's occasionally sending out tweets saying things like, they're working in Utah County now, or they just finished up Grand County. And if you see a tweet that says they just finished up Grand County, you can go and look, and you can then give us feedback on that to help us know, did we get it right? Or what could we do to have it be more effective in representing your interests? And so we really are wanting to hear your perspectives. I know on our agenda, we had a couple of the mayors but I don't think we've seen them this evening. Is that correct?
Right, but we have a council member.
But
I
yeah.
have more. I have Brett.
Yes.
So I want
Alerted.
to recognize that we have several folks from some of the city as well as the county. We have Elsie Adee from San Juan County who's joining us, and we appreciate her being here. And then we have Cheryl Bowers from the Blanding City Council, and then Kim Henderson from the Monticello City Council. And so, Cheryl, if we could get you to offer a few words about your community, that would be really helpful.
Let me address you.
Yeah, if you'd address us, that would be terrific.
You can hear me okay.
We just wanna make sure-
We also want to make sure the people online.
Oh, wonderful.
The 5 million people watching online.
Yeah.
So welcome from the city of Blanding. We're so grateful to have you here. I know some of you out there, and it's good to see such a diverse group of people who are over this commission. I think that's exciting. Blanding is, I mean, it's an amazing place. I'm sure you've heard that wherever you go. Blanding's wonderful. I was raised in Blanding my whole life, and Blanding is passionate about families. Blanding's passionate about rural. Blanding loves Blanding because we are rural and we're so far away from everything and everyone. Blanding, we love this county in general. I think San Juan County is an amazing county. I think we get along well. I think like we're so big again, and there's so much land mass and that we're so rural. That's part of the reason I would live here. I will say that, and I'll probably get a chance to say this later, so maybe now's not the time. Maybe you should want me to talk about Blanding.
Feel free.
But I know myself and other county commissioners, I spoke with all people from Blanding in general, I speak with a lot of people. We feel like it's critical that rural voices have a voice. And I hope that as you make this decision, as you move forward, you're understanding that sense and as part of your everyday discussion. If you join rural communities with huge communities or large communities, we will never have a voice. And so keeping rural communities together is important for us, that we have the ability to have a voice with other smaller counties and other rural communities as well. So that's very important to us. I know it's important for San Juan County. We want to have a voice and we want to be heard, and Blanding wants to be heard, but we also want to make sure that we're able to do that with rural people. And I strongly feel that if you put us in a district, and I'm talking about some of the smaller, the ability to do congressional districts, state congressional districts, because you have the ability to choose some smaller areas. Then of course with the Senate districts, but in the federal Congress districts. But if you put us with larger communities, we feel like our voice would be gone completely. And we already feel like we lack a voice in the state. So just please keep that in mind. But Blanding's wonderful, great people. We love Monticello, we love San Juan County, and we're excited that you guys are here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Kim Henderson, please.
Thank you. Welcome on behalf of Monticello. We appreciate your time, and I'm sure it's very tedious and time consuming, so I appreciate your time through this process. I'm going to echo a lot of what Cheryl said. Monticello is quite similar to Blanding. We value family. We value the small community atmosphere and feel. I was born and raised in Monticello, moved up to the Salt Lake Valley for 11 years and started having kids, and very much knew that I wanted to come back here and raise my kids in a small community. I think that it's, like Cheryl said, it's very important that, and when we're being divided up into districts as much as possible, that we're able to stay with smaller communities and counties. It's with those other smaller communities and counties that we have the most in common. We share the same concerns on whether it's government level, school level, any of that, we share a lot of the same concerns. And so that's often when we feel like our voices are heard the best, is when we can join with other smaller communities and counties in expressing those things. I know you mentioned that sometimes it makes sense to keep areas together following a river or a mountain, and in some senses, you might feel like it might make a lot of sense to keep us with Grand County. However, I do feel like that Grand County and San Juan County are very different. In a lot of ways, I dare say that we're probably polar opposites. And so to me, it doesn't make sense to bunch us with somebody that we have very few similarities with on school district levels, on local levels, on economic levels, just very different with the bigger areas. So I would also ask that as much as possible, we're able to stay grouped together with the communities that we identify with and that we can communicate with, and hopefully have our voices best heard.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Senior County Commissioner.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah. Bruce? Bruce Adams, we have from the from the, which county commission? I'm on San Juan, right?
San Juan. It's been
Yeah.
there 17 years.
So,
Good evening. Welcome to San Juan County. Thank you. I'm going to say a couple of things that may not fit well with what your assignment is to do. But I'm just expressing my feelings and feelings of many that I've talked to and heard from in San Juan County. We know that we are a subdivision of the state of Utah, San Juan County. We have no direct relationship with the federal government. But the Navajo Indian tribe does have a direct relationship with the federal government and not so direct relationship with the state of Utah. That creates some conflict just naturally within our county boundaries, because we try to provide services to the Navajo people that live within our county boundaries. And sometimes that conflicts with the sovereignty issues that the Navajo tribe feel like they have. And so some of our Navajo people become underserved because of those conflicts that exist. We still have people living in the county that don't have running water in their homes, that don't have electricity, don't have sewer. That's really, really unfortunate. It would seem like if we're all living in the United States, we all ought to be under one system. But it's not, and I understand why, and I understand the difficulties that are created because of it. The United States of America was set up, divinely inspired and set up so that everybody had equal representation. Every state sends 2 senators to Congress. Then, based on population, you get to send however many congressmen, House of Representatives to Congress. I'm a little bit confused why the state of Utah has gotten away from that, although I know the answer. Believe me, I'm just expressing, it would be nice if we have 29 senators in the state Senate, is that right, Lon?
Right.
And we have 29 counties. It would be nice if every county had a senator. I understand why we can't have that, but the point I'm trying to make is representation. It would be satisfactory to me and others if every county in the state of Utah, all 29 counties, had a representative. I've gone away from the Senate issue, but wouldn't it be nice if every single county had a representative in the House of Representatives and every county could talk to their representative about issues? I know a lot of the larger counties would end up with multiple representatives, but you know, it just seems like since I've been a commissioner, and I've only been here 17 years, so I've seen a few things come and go, but it seems like every time we redistrict, the representation from San Juan County gets lumped in with multiple counties. You know, I remember back when Hardy Red represented San Juan County in the legislature. Lyle Anderson represented San Juan and Grand County. Keel Johnson represented San Juan and Grand County. Phil Lyman now represents all or part of about 7 counties. He can't even drive to the counties he represents on the other side of the state in less than 6 or 7 hours. And, you know, it's hard to be in touch with your constituency if it takes you 2 days to drive over and back. And so that's kind of my plea tonight. I'm looking at the map and it's not the House of Representatives map, it's more the maps of congressional maps. But if you stayed right along the Colorado River and came right up the Colorado River through Moab and right up to the border of Colorado where it goes into Grand Junction area, if you made that a district, whether it's 73 or whatever it is, I think they'll represent 73, I'm not quite sure. But if you have that, that would be a constituency that he could have contact with on almost a daily or weekly basis when it came to issues at the legislature. I've made it a practice for all 17 years to attend the legislature every week that the legislature meets. I drive to Salt Lake. I usually don't get there till Wednesday. I stay Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday every week and try to attend the hearings, try to interact with those representatives that represent more of a rural perspective. But, you know, it's a huge effort for rural commissioners to try and interact with the legislature. And I'm not talking about any specific party. I'm just saying elected officials who are elected to represent a constituency, they're still part of Utah, even if we're 5 hours from Salt Lake one way. We're still part of Utah. We want to be represented. We want it to be fair. I know population is a big deal when you come to redistricting or voting or all of those kind of things, but man, you go back just 100 years and we had more representation from San Juan County size-wise than we do today. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we had more. But you lump San Juan County in because they're a small population. You lump them in with a whole bunch of other counties. It just dilutes the whole process, in my opinion. And so, you know, I've cried this tune to many before. I've been told that I can't do that. But this is the first time that we've had a redistricting commission. First time we've ever been able to come and speak with you, the redistricting commission, and ask you and beg you for some representation for San Juan County. That's my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate the perspectives that you all share with us. And I want to point out a couple of additional items. First, this is our first public hearing, and we chose to come here is a matter of our first public hearing. And it was a deliberate choice on our part because we wanted to start hearing those voices from rural Utah, and especially where a place where it is often felt, as we've heard, not heard very well. And so we hope that as we listen tonight, that we can hear your voices. The second thing that I want to highlight is that the commission is making every effort to do all that we can in the public view. And so, for example, we're broadcasting this hearing live on our YouTube channel. And so if you want to go back and re-listen to one of the presentations that's made tonight, or hear one of your neighbors speak, or make sure other people in your community hear this, you can go to our YouTube channel and find that. Or if you want to hear what people are saying in the other public hearings, you can join in through watching on YouTube and still participate even in those other public hearings. And we would encourage that because we don't want to be doing anything behind closed doors. We want to be very open and transparent in this process, and we're trying as best we can to do that. So one of the things that is really important to us, as we've mentioned, is getting that feedback from the public. And we've asked one of our interns to share with us how that process of public participation goes. So Julianne, if you'll use the microphone and address the audience, please.
All right, so public comment is crucial. We don't all live in your community. We don't all work here. So receiving your input and your comment helps us to know a little bit more about your community, and the comments that were shared a few minutes ago are perfect in helping us understand that. But there are ways for everyone to get involved in your community, for every person in Blanding or Monticello or throughout San Juan to come and to share their voice as well if they're not able to make it here today. So we have some links to show you how you can do that. Joey's going to click to this next slide for us, and anybody can do this. If they go to our website here, we're just going to pull this up in a second. This is how you can participate. Well, these first maps are a little bit about the maps that we have been creating. All of this is on our website here at uirc.utah.gov, and we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. Share our social media with those in your community and everybody who is listening online to get updates about what we're doing and to have access to this website, easy access. Anybody can get access to this though. So uirc.utah.gov is our website. And for people to come and to submit public comment, they can do that two ways. We have our email, which is uirc comments@utah.gov. People can go and just share whatever they want, any feedback they have. But if people want to create their own maps, want to draw what they want their district to look like, and to show us what communities they want to be kept together, all they need to do is click that participate tab right up here at the top. And if you see right here, you can map your community and you can just draw a little shape or a big shape around your community, whether it be Blanding, whether it be Monticello, and you can draw with a polygon tool what you want your district to look like. And that helps the commission to understand more about your community, what you're expecting, and what you want to get out of this redistricting process. So you can do that. You just fill out the information on the side and you click that little button on there, report it. It sends it to us. The commission gets it, and it helps us have that information as our commissioners are mapping. So Joey, if you go back to that main website, perfect, and then come back to participate. You don't need to click on this thing, but you can also map the state of Utah. And you can include more districts than just your community. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, Joey, we have public comment right here. So as you're watching these public hearings or any other meetings that the commission has, you can go and you can submit your own public comment, and we can answer those questions during our public. We just want to make sure that your voices are heard, because again, it is crucial that we learn more about redistricting. Happens only once every 10 years, and you want to make sure this next redistricting session you get a good district, get a good one. And we can't do that if we don't know your input and we don't know what your communities are looking for. So on our website, you can go submit these public comments, draw your own map. You can email us, again, UIRC comments@utah.gov. We also have social media. You can share, you can spread the word with those in your county, in your community, in your area, just to help us learn more about your community. So yeah, that's a little bit more about public comment and the process that we have.
And then the form that we have.
Yeah, of course. So at every public hearing, we're going to be having these forms. It's a little bit tiny, but they were at the front desk when you walked in today. And every public hearing we go to, we have maps of your communities of your school district, your Senate district, your House districts, and your congressional districts. And you can go and you can draw on these maps when you come to our public hearings. You can circle things you want to be kept together, just like you can online. You can do it right here on this piece of paper if you're in attendance on this public hearing and any future public hearings we have. Just circle what communities you want to be kept together, what you want your district to look like. And here on the front, you just leave us your information, what map you're commenting on, and you can write down specifically your comments and elaborate more on the map. Yeah.
The school district one is state school district.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Not local school district, right?
Yeah. School district is state school district. Senate map and House map are also state House and state Senate. Congressional are your representatives who go off to the United States House representatives and Senate out there.
Thank you very much, Julianne. We appreciate that. We'll now have a brief presentation by our Executive Director, Gordon Haight, to talk about the process for the rest of the evening.
So I'm not gonna say very much, but I just want to know that at the end, we will have interns here, our staff here, that can help look at stuff, so we have every question answered, and they can't leave later for any questions. So pretty much the time is now yours, and we were thinking that it would probably be good if we have people come in and comment on congressional districts first, and then we would come back to the Senate, and then come back to the House, and then, so that way you don't have to give us all your comments at once, and it would be probably a little more good, a little better for us to focus on just one of the district maps. So, anybody, the time is yours, use the microphone, and Commissioner wants to do what you have to say.
And just a note, as you're coming up, just a note that your comments are part of the public record, and we will be sharing those with the legislature to make sure your voice is heard.
So no swearing.
So no swearing. Yeah.
Got it.
We would know if we were there anyway.
Thanks, Rob. You opened the door. Shannon Brooks, Monticello. I want to thank and echo my representatives here, Cheryl and Kim and Bruce, and echo their feelings. And I want to take kind of a general approach to this. I run a small college here in Monticello. Most people have never heard of the fact of college in Monticello, but there is one here. And I want to kind of step back a little bit. When you look at any government, any organization, they have their founding ideas, and often they don't look like that down the road. This nation was built on a principle called federalism. And federalism essentially is the idea of honoring sovereignty. And then, of course, we incorporated that into not only the United States form of government, we have Republican form of government, but that was also a requirement for states as they came in. You had to have a Republican form of government, which necessarily, when it comes to districts and that kind of thing, incorporates two elements of that sovereignty, and that is population, and then the sovereignty of the smaller political units. In this case, I'm more interested in counties. And I really appreciate what Bruce said. There was a time when San Juan County was represented in and of itself, or a very, very tight area, maybe one other county. And we've gotten away from that kind of thing. And it's really important to the people who live here. If you're not familiar with what's going on down here over the last 10 years, we've had some real sensitive issues over redistricting and federal government overreach and those kinds of things. And so it's vital to us that our sovereignty as a county is recognized and represented, and that you have an opportunity to do that in your stead. I also bring in students from various parts across the country, and we try to bring them to meetings like this. I have 3 students here tonight representing a larger population on the Hill. And we have brought them to city council meetings, to meetings like this, to county commission meetings, and especially related to specifically to San Juan County. They'll come in, we give them the history of what's happening, and often they say, that doesn't make any sense. These are kids from Oregon and from Washington and California and other places. And universally, they're saying, why would they do it like that? And that's kind of what we're saying here tonight is why would they do it like that? Why have they done it like that? And you have an opportunity to undo that. Bring it back to the concepts of federalism, bring it back to the original concept of sovereignty. And factoring in population, of course you have to, but population, I mean, this was a major issue in the Constitutional Convention, right? Population or sovereignty. And they came to a great solution. We've moved away from that. The idea of having, and I know this is not your role, but the idea of having senators represented by a group of population and the House by, it makes no sense. We should have, each county should have its own representative, its own senator, if you will. And I'm not as educated as Bruce is, and so I think that all things are possible. So when they tell us that we can't do it, Bruce, I'm not buying it. So anyway, that's where I'm at. We'd like to take the active role. That's why we're here. Please hear us and please accommodate our sovereignty here in San Juan County.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I don't know.
Yes, it's on.
Is it
Yes.
on? Okay, my name is Susie Philliman. I'm from, originally from south of here on my Crack Mesa, that's where I live. And I don't know all of you at all, but, I want to say that, as being, the citizens of San Juan County and Utah State, as a Navajo member, we've never been represented either by the county, by the state, or by the Navajo Nation. And it's always like, you're under the sovereign nation, but yet we vote in the county, the state, and Navajo Nation. And so I hope that someday this will change. And we can, and our kids and our grandchildren are going to go through, it seems like that, is they're never going to be represented at all. And so what really upsets me is that we're always out of the loop for everything down in Monticello Creek area. And it's a really remote area, but yet we're part of San Juan County. And we're told that we are in the same district as Monticello and Blanding. But to me, it's like we've never been heard. It's like we're always pushed aside. And the kids are going to be like that. Our kids and our grandchildren are going to be treated like that. I am over 60 years old. And it's been like this. I never did really care for it to come out this way. I went to school in a boarding school, all the way from kindergarten to 11th grade. Because I didn't want to. Half of the year, I did go to school in San Juan County, up here in Blanding. It was crazy. And so then we got a high school out there. But that building was never really finished like it was supposed to. The way we saw it in the picture when it was going to get built. What happened to some of the things that we were supposed to get for us back then and for our children and our grandchildren that are going to school right now? What happened to that? I see all these improvements over here in Monticello, Blanding, but nobody takes the time to go down there. We don't never get no visits from the state, from the county. That really frustrates me. And so even the books, I have some friends that work for the San Juan School District. And they say that there's a lack of academic books There's not enough books for the kids down there. And all those things that, some of the things that the kids should be able to learn, even if it's elective classes. They should have the same classes as Monticello does, Landing does, but they don't. Is it because we are second, third class citizen? I don't think so. We shouldn't be looked at like that. We're always told that sovereignty, we're under sovereignty. No, we're not. And so even the school buses, we get secondhand school buses. Not a brand new one, We're not entitled to that. Our kids are not entitled to something good. And that is so sad. And here, even this, the high school kids, they have worn out sports jerseys. Do we really want to be like that? Do you guys really want to represent your native people like that? That has got to change. It really does. It's the saddest thing. And then here, we have no representation, like I said, from the county. And these students now, right now, I know that we've lost a lot of the students to the Red Mesa Unified School District. That little unified school district, within a few years, it really flourished. And so a lot of the kids, they go to school over there. Well, they should be going to school within the San Juan School District. So, and then in every way, I am frustrated. I don't know, of all the years that we had school board members, and if the voices are not being heard, or the voices are not strong, I don't know what the problem is. But back then, when I was a little girl, there was no school down there. We had these Navajo people that hardly spoke Navajo. And they brought the high school down there. And we need improvement. Outside the ground, inside the building. One day I went over there. I graduated from there back in 1980. It's still the same. There's really no renovation to that poor building. And then the outside, it's not all that pretty. There's nothing, there's the ground maintenance are not all that good. So I'm just asking for representation. And I don't know if this will ever change. This school district that we have, or the state, the way it's drawn, is always gone vertically from the south to the north. I don't know if it's ever going to change if we go horizontal towards Hurricane. Maybe people will be different to us from there. Maybe there will be a strong force for us. I don't know. But that's all I wanted to say, is just that hopefully something changes someday in the near future. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Other public comments? I know Commissioner Hilliard had a question.
Well, I have a comment and then a rhetorical question. Can you hear me all right? I think my comment, first of all, is we lost that issue, Bruce, in 1962. The United States Supreme Court came back and said, you can't compare counties to states because states created a federal government the states created counties. They did the other way around. So we could spend our time and do a map like that. It would be either rejected by the legislature out of hand, or a court would strike it down. So we'd be wasting our time to do it. I understand your argument because Rich County has been a favorite part of mine, and they say the same thing to me. But let me ask you a rhetorical question. As I look at drawing lines in districts, and I'll now go to the House districts because they're the 75. That's what you have more of a play in here. I look at southern Utah as being 3 lines. I-15 from Nephi down to St. George. 89 from Nephi down through Richfield down to Kanab. And then I look at this Highway 6 really that comes from Price into Green River down through here. And I asked myself, what should I do about San Juan County? I can't go east, I can't go south. I've got to either go west or I've got to go north. Now I looked at it, just picked up the population. San Juan County has a population of 14,518. That's the figure where you're going from. Grand County has 9,669. And in my mind, as a non-native, I always thought they're the same. But when the comment was made, you really are different. Grand County is quite a bit different than San Juan County. That's pretty obvious, I think, when you do that. But so the question gets to be, do we take San Juan County and go west across the river? I have a friend up in Logan who grew up in Hurricane. And he said, when I was growing up in high school, it would have been easier for our high school to go to California and play a football team than to go all the way up and come down to Grand County and play Moab. And so you've got this, whatever you want to call it, a barrier that you just, unless you got a plane, it's pretty hard to walk across it. So the question is, if I do that, how far west can I go and what I do? And that's what apparently Phil Lyman's district is. I haven't looked at any of the districts or who where that. Now, if we go north, we end up with 25,187. So we're still, and they give us certain leeways. The figure that you heard that House districts have to be 43,000, my glasses on, 43,622. And under litigation, if we really stretched the matter and went 10% below, we could have 41,000. We have to have at least 41,000. That means we got to get 16,000 more people to move into San Juan and Grand County. And so now the question is, if I go north to Grand County and get Moab, do I then follow the route up to Price and put Price and Green River all in the same district? Is that a community of interest? Or do I say, well, there's not a road really, but the land is there. I can go north and I can drop into Uinta and Daggett in those counties and put all of those, or try to get that count up to the 41 or 43 that we need to have a House district. Now, I want to make a comment when somebody says you don't have a voice. Let me tell you, I had Rich County, which was about 5% of my population. Every time they talked to me, I was really attentive because I knew if Rich County didn't like me, there was 5% of my vote gone like that. I mean, they are very close knit. They talk and they know each other well. And if I were to offend one of them, I listen to them because I know even though they're not 100% or even 50% of my district, I know they're pretty important and I know they stay together as a group. So I think you can't look at things, well, I got to have a representative here to have a vote because under our current law, we can't do that. But my rhetorical question to you is this. Do we take San Juan County and go west and finally end up in Kane County or with Kane County with Kanab? And maybe even to St. George area or up in there? Do we go north into Grand, which would appear to me to be logical because of the river? And then do I go to Price and leave the basin along with Duchesne into Summit County? Or do I say, no, I don't care if there's not a road right there. You can drive to Price and up the road and get to Duchesne and Uinta. Where is the greatest community of interest for you? Which way? All the way north or to Price? And the further you go, further I go into downtown Provo, the more you're going to have the urban areas controlling your district. And that has me really concerned.
We belong to a 4-county AOG. And it's Carbon, Emory, Grand, and San Juan. So we already have a working relationship with those 4 counties. I don't know if that reaches the 41,000 level, but I mean, population level.
I don't know either. I go look at that sheet to see what every and carbon says.
Close.
But if you were going to try and keep it rural and not include an urban county, it would make more sense to go north into, up into like Duchesne or Uintah County. But I don't know what that does to their district, because they include over to Heber and that direction. But certainly, I don't know what that population of the AOG would be, Carbon, Emery, Grand, and San Juan. But that's something that we have a working relationship with.
I don't need an answer tonight. You can send your comments and what you think about it. This is the type of we need to look at as we're drawing maps is what is your community of interest and how do you define it?
But I think that helps to have Commissioner Adams tell us.
Yeah.
That 4 county group is the center. And then if we have to add from there, that's the next question, but at least that's the center of what we need to look at.
I would just add that I think you might then, it'd be interesting to find out how Grand would feel about that, because you might then, have Grand feeling like they're underrepresented. I don't know, because they would be probably more liberal than the counties that they're with. And he's right, though, we do have a good working relationship in a lot of sense with those counties. But would they feel underrepresented? I don't know. I would personally say go west. I think our current congressional district is something that we like here. I realize that the populations are changing. You may not be able to keep it that way. But I think that the counties that are west of us, for me personally, are very similar to ours. Except for that we don't want to lose our rural voice. So if you're talking about going too far into the St. George area, then I would disagree. But my only concern with that would be, is Grand going to be underrepresented? But I think Price and Huon Basin would be great for us.
Thank you.
If I just add, I just looked up on this sheet, Emory is 9,800. It lost 1,000 people. And Price is 8,200. It lost 500 from the census. So 17, you about have it there, but that's just Price. There are other areas, Helper, other areas in Carbon County that could affect that population. And it may end up, and it probably will, we can't put all of complete counties in, because if we do, we have too many people.
Yeah, please, Mr. Bishop.
Did you say you might end up splitting counties?
We may have to, just because of the count.
Well, let me just reemphasize what Lyle was saying. So Bruce, historically, up until the 1960s, every county had a representative in the state legislature. It was in the House, not the Senate. It was always a House member, and then they divided it up. But because of the Supreme Court rule from early 60s, it won't happen. It can't happen. So I'm sorry, you can't do it until you change the Constitution.
On it.
Then
US Constitution.
However, what Lyle was saying is the important part. With the size San Juan County is, if you're talking about the state house, state senate, state school board, or Congress, it would take a major miracle to divide San Juan County up. You are going to be whole. There's no other way of getting around it. But you're not enough to make the population figures in any other. So the real issue that you've got to come to us is, do you go north? You also have to be contiguous. So you either go north or you go west. And once again, if you keep a rural voice going in there, the problem you're going to have with the census is there's going to be fewer rural representatives. So it is important to recognize how many representatives you can have that do have some kind of an interest in this particular area, because you'll have fewer than you had before. This is not where the population growth has been. But the question is, what's easier for you? Because if you go north to Grand, that district, especially if it's, you have to have 200,000 for a state school board seat. That's going to go into the entire basin. Or is it better for you to go west, in which you're going to go to the outskirts of St. George at best? and maybe even into Cedar City too. But you've got to tell us which is the best direction to take you. Those are the only directions we gotta go. And because you're at the corner, and we usually start at some corner, you have an advantage with that.
And it's better for you to tell us than have us just guess.
Which is true. I mean, he was right. We know how difficult it is to get across the river and keep communications. But some ways, you know, if you were with Garfield and Wayne, maybe easier communication.
Thank you. Other comments?
What if each of us just identified as 10 people each? Then we could solve the population problem.
Maybe every 10 years, we realign the county boundaries.
What's the population of Wayne, Garfield, and Kane County as compared to Grand, Emery, and Carbon? Is it about the same?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that offhand, but I do know that our staff can figure that out. For us.
Just worry about going, if we go west, getting into that St. George area, and that's more of an urban setting than it is rural, again, kind of the same way as getting up into the Wasatch Front.
I would bet Wayne through Kane is about 6,000 people. So, yeah, you're going to have to go
Even
east of
further.
Washington.
Yeah.
Well, it depends.
About Beaver.
Yeah, but it depends because you only need 43,000. But you need, what is 100 for the state senate?
112.
112. 200,000 plus 218,000 for the state school board, and you need 800,000 for congressional seats.
I think the only thing that we can have a chance at having representation is in the House. You know, so I'm just trying to configure in my own mind. If we go west and just kept King, Garfield, Wayne, Paiute, Beaver, something like that. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't have to drive to those towns. And just, if you drive north, and you could get enough with Grand, Emery, Carbon, maybe Duchesne. I don't know.
That's one of the things that maps will do, is you can get on
Okay,
and try different combinations and see which works best for you, and then let us know.
okay.
So you can, they'll give you right to the neighborhood population. You can start to add all that up, the computer will add it for you. And you can just try different configurations and see which one fits what you want better.
And the magic number we're trying to get to is 41,000.
43.
For a house.
43 for a house,
43.
plus or minus 2.
And when you say go west and north, are you speaking of the state congressional? You say go west and north, are you speaking of the state congressional, or are you speaking of all of our districts?
Any and all.
Well, yeah.
So you may have a different view about how to do a school board than you do a house, and that's perfectly fine. Just let us know for each of those 4, how you would like to tie together with somebody else.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it tonight. You can get on the computer, you can let us know. And if you change your mind, let us know you changed your mind.
Yeah.
We have all the way until towards the end of October.
Those maps pull in population, so.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it automatically, as soon as you click the button that it selects one of it, it populates with the exact population of that area.
And it'll show you how far you're off and how many more you need to add or take away for each of those 4 kinds.
It has a thing called census blocks, and you'll see how many people in each census block. I'm told there are 77,000 census blocks in the state of Utah.
Some have 900 people, some have 0.
I saw a lot today, driving from Green River to here, a lot of zeros along that.
And then what's the number for the state senate?
The state senate is 112,814.
All right, thank you.
Bet.
Maybe we should encourage those. Actually, for
Go
those
ahead,
that are
Jeff.
asking questions, we have the computer set up with the software on right here at the back of the room. So I encourage you to take a few minutes and at least get an introduction to the software.
Yeah.
Then you can log in from home or
The-
wherever.
Unfortunately, the software is not as easy as just opening an iPad. But if you talk with the interns tonight, they can get you started. And then if you have a problem, you can call them and say, how do I get past this step? So don't let it frustrate you where you give up. Because it's important we hear what you need and what you want.
And the real frustrating thing is that you have to do the whole map for the state. Don't just do 4 blocks around your house. Because it's got to fit in a jigsaw puzzle.
Or at least do your districts.
Yeah, do your, yeah.
Yeah, that's, okay, what Lyle said is significant, because Washington County has grown. So they will have 2+ House seats they have to have, which means they've got to go somewhere. Iron is, I think, a little bit over 1.
Yeah.
It's got to go somewhere. So, you know, if you want to go like west, but not into Washington County, you're making it almost impossible, because part of Washington's got to go somewhere. So, but the key element that we're still after is, do you feel better being tied to Kane and Garfield or to Grant? And that's still,
Or carbon, yeah.
that's still the issue. And well, you go all the way up to the basin and be within a state one perhaps.
We could do Kane, Garfield, Wayne, and even Emory County. We have similar.
So you want Grant with Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said that.
But Bruce, one of the problems is that when you start in the basin and come west to Duchesne and get into Heber City, you may not have enough. So they may have to drop down. So some of the counties you want to move in your district, they may say, no, 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 they come with us.
Yeah.
And we have to decide where that line will be.
And that's one of the things that we see is as soon as we start moving one area, it's like squeezing a balloon, right? It starts squirting out somewhere else. We've got to try and balance that out. And as my commission colleagues have said, the more feedback we have from you, the better decisions and maps we'll be able to make. And so we really appreciate your feedback, and we really want you to be engaged with us and help us solve this issue.
Can the interns tell us what the populations of the counties are?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
They can tell you, and you can go back tomorrow and look yourself again. Every day that you need to until you come to some conclusion.
And those figures will never change. That's the
Yeah.
trouble.
All right. Are there any more public comments? Please, Commissioner Hill.
Just to reemphasize too, and I know our interns have made this clear, and Rex has, our Commissioner Facer has as well, but don't be intimidated by thinking you have to do the whole state. That we would welcome that. That's great. But we really want you to continue talking about your community of interest and those counties that are important to you. So when you go online, don't think you have to map out the whole state. We really want to hear about this specific community, about your community, and the comments you have shared today have really been helpful. This is our first hearing, and I already feel like, this has just been well worth it. I really appreciate the comments that have been made, and I'm really looking forward to getting back next week to our maps so that we can take these comments to the maps themselves and really be able to implement your comments in what we're doing. So thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Thanks, Dylan. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're all considering this, but I'm sure you're all considering this, but the minute that you take these small rural counties and you put them with Utah County or with Salt Lake County, and granted, know that I understand that in the federal races, you have to do that. But the minute you put us with those bigger counties, we will lose our voice. We've been, Landing City in the most recent redistricting done by a lawsuit was split 3 ways. So Blanding City is the largest city in the county. We don't have a commissioner on the commission. Nor do, if it stays the way it is, nor do I think we will have one. And so the minute so I feel that way with some of these districts. The minute you put us in with these other bigger cities or bigger areas into St. George or into, it will take away our ability to have representation. So I just hope that as you move forward and you're working through all this, I'm sure you're all thinking about all of that, but it's important to say it, that we need rural counties to stick together. We also need to have multiple rural counties who have the ability to have representation. So I realize that's the hard part of all of this, but I'm gonna go and make my maps up for you. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and we really appreciate that, and that's why we're here, is we want to hear those comments, and we want to make sure you're aware of the resources you have available to you to help inform us, so that we can create a better solution.
And I've been working with that software for a couple of weeks, and I'm just beginning to feel comfortable. So when you feel frustrated, don't give up.
Okay.
Call, and one of the interns they may have to call you back, but they'll walk you through how to get past whatever your hurdle is, so that you can give us a map that says, here is what we want. Don't give up.
Thank you. All right, if there are no other public comments, we'll go ahead and close the public comment session. Oh, I didn't ask, nothing online, okay. We'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of our hearing. And the final portion of the hearing, we have the opportunity for the commission to talk a little bit about, are there things we've heard tonight that we want to direct staff on, or other things of that nature? Do we have any feedback from staff that you'd like us to?
I was really pleased with the public comment that we received because it was on point. They did understand. I'm glad you guys listened because they do have other concerns that we're not able to address, but the fact that they recognize either going north or having to go west is going to make a difference how your representation goes. And we want to put you in areas that, I'm going to talk so people can hear me. We want to put it in a way that works for you. And I think you're hearing from a commission that is eager to try to put that voice in there. So there's one last thing I think you ought to be aware of is the legislative committee is going to have a public hearing in Moab. I don't know when, but it's soon. And I would say these exact same comments you said here to that hearing and prepare your maps and bring them to that hearing. So we prepped you so you can do an excellent job there.
Yep.
Or you still have Fred Lyman and he's in the state legislature. He will represent you in the state legislature. So make sure he knows what those same issues are.
So
Or do
you
both.
want both committees. Thanks, Commissioner Bishop. You want both committees to be aware of that. We want this to be the people's maps. We want them to hear that when we submit this to them, that they didn't make it up, but they've heard these from you for all those maps. Commission?
Are there any other issues that the commission would like to either direct staff on or get raised?
I would just invite you once again, watch us as we're drawing the maps. If we're not paying attention to what you've told us, there's a process that you could give us feedback and we will get that. So it's not behind closed doors. Everything we do is in the open. So if you're bored,
Can't sleep at
tune
night.
into what we're doing.
Thank you.
And they do have maps online, so it's each time they finish a map, there's like 12 congressional maps and others, so you can go online and say, these 3 maps I like, these I hate, these are ones I'm okay with, these I'd like to see changed. So you can go online and make comments right on those maps. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be adding more maps. So if you don't like the ones you see now, wait a week, because Commissioner Bishop still has more to draw, so I'm just saying that's happening.
You'll have 3 more you don't like.
Everything that's, all the maps that you'll see, none of them are set in stone. These are all preliminary maps. Maybe none of them will go through. I mean, so don't think of those. They're not our proposal.
Yeah.
yet. No.
It's just possible puzzle pieces.
And your team will help solve that
Thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you all for coming.
So moved.
Okay, yeah, the meeting is adjourned.
So, yeah, we will have
German thing.